For over a decade of my life, I spent almost all of my money trying to keep up. I was buying haul after haul of trendy clothes, posting flat lays on Instagram of my $14 avocado toast, just for my mom to like it. And I would easily drop $600 on a pair of shoes that hurt my feet just so I could have the label. And I was doing all of this just so I could feel like I had made it, and more importantly, to signal to others that I had. But in the background, I was completely broke and in six figures of debt. But as soon as I stopped all the BS was when I started to save serious money and build the rich girl life I had always dreamed of living. So in this video, I'm gonna break down all the reasons why when you start making and saving serious money, the best possible thing you can do is to stay quiet about it and to avoid looking the part. Starting with reason number one, life won't creep up on you. There's a term in personal finance that I fell victim to as I was spending all of my disposable income cosplaying rich, and that is lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep essentially happens when you increase your lifestyle alongside your income. So as you make more money, that's when you start feeling like you need to upgrade your apartment or your car or buy better clothes. But I can tell you from firsthand experience that it is the fastest way of staying stuck with your money. And more people fall victim to this than you might think. It's actually how a lot of people who make decent money end up living paycheck to paycheck because they're spending all of their money maintaining their lifestyle rather than being able to save and invest. And the sort of insidious and hard part about it too is that it's really hard to tell when people are living this way because a lot of people subsidize their lifestyles using things like credit cards and debt. So you may look like you're doing really well from the outside, but behind the scenes, you could be struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. This definitely happened to me when I first graduated university and started working in my career. Even though I graduated school with over $120,000 in student loans, I immediately moved to a big city out on my own because I was sick of living with roommates, and I was spending all of my big girl money buying clothes so that I could look like I matched my income. If I could do it all over again, at least for a little while, I would try to live as cheaply as I could so that I could put a lot of my money to aggressively pay off my debt. Because at the end of the day, even though I was making good money, it ended up being my debt and my lifestyle spending habits that was keeping me stuck. But from the outside looking in, you'd think I'd have my shit together. So if you're watching this and you're just starting your career or you're expecting a bonus or a raise, it's going to feel very tempting to spend that money on things like lifestyle or buying a new car or making some kind of upgrade to your life. And you know what? Honestly, I don't think that's fully a bad thing. I think you should upgrade your lifestyle as you make more money, but the key here is to do it slowly. If you end up doing it too quickly, that's when you find yourself locked into a lifestyle that you might not be able to afford. And then you're going to feel in the same place financially as you were before when you were making less money. If you care just a little bit less about looking the part and more about prioritizing your savings, your financial future, investing, and building wealth, then the pressure to level up into a lifestyle you might not be able to afford yet is going to be a lot less. And you're going to have so much more money in your pocket because of it. And here's the next problem. Once you've upgraded your lifestyle, it is really hard to downgrade once you've done it. So if you're used to doing things like living alone, it's going to feel really uncomfortable to move in with roommates or your parents again to save money. Or if you're trying to shop less, it might feel uncomfortable to choose to wear some old clothes instead of buying something new for that next event. It's going to feel like a downgrade and it's going to hurt. And that's because even though downgrading your lifestyle might be a logical financial decision, especially if you're feeling financial pressure from lifestyle inflation, emotionally, it's really hard to actually do. And let me tell you, I learned this the hard way. When I committed to paying off my debt, I realized that I was living way above my means, which meant that I had to start cutting it out of my lifestyle. I stopped shopping completely. I stopped going on any and all vacations. I stopped eating takeout for a while. I basically cut out all the conveniences and luxuries from my life in order to put more money down on my debt. And you know what? It sucked. It was uncomfortable. It was embarrassing. And I even felt like I was going through a bit of a withdrawal period because yeah, I kind of was. I was so used to spending in this certain way for so long that it was really difficult to reverse course from that. So if you do have a long-term goal of saving serious money or you're just starting right now, it's always better to maintain your current standard of living rather than upgrading to a place where you might be struggling to afford to maintain it. This doesn't necessarily mean that you can't spend money on nice things, but when you choose to do that, you have to make sure that you can afford it in the first place and that you have enough so that you don't have to move backwards. And that's where a lot of people can find themselves stuck. We often make our decisions based on emotions and what other people might think, and then we kind of forget about doing the math. Number 3 is you let go of the pressure to upgrade everything. Have you ever bought a really nice dress and thought, oh, I love this, but now I need a pair of shoes to go with it? And now my purse doesn't go, and now I need to get some accessories and a new jacket to go with this. And before you know it, you've bought an entire new wardrobe just to go with this one item. Let me tell you, you're actually not crazy in having thought that or even having done it, because it's an actual phenomenon called the ditto effect. So your boy Diderot was a guy from the 17th century who was broke. He came into some money, and with that money, he bought himself a beautiful robe. This thing was gorgeous, but all of a sudden, the rest of his stuff looked like shit. So he needed to upgrade to get a new rug, he got a new chair, he got art, he got sculptures, and before you know it, Diderot was broke again. He did have a bunch of nice things, but also he had no money. And this becomes another money trap if you try to keep up appearances, because buying one new purchase often leads to a spiral of consuming more to match it. I think at one time or another we have all done this, and I wouldn't say it's anything to be ashamed about either, because as humans we do have a natural tendency to want to consume more rather than less. We're hunter-gatherers, it's like in our DNA. And the way I think that you can really counteract this is to focus on filling your life with not necessarily more things, but with the right things. Focus on buying things that you actually care about and that you actually use. But what about the times when you do find yourself either needing to or actually wanting to upgrade something? This is when you can be a bit more strategic with your purchase and buy something that goes well and works well with what you already have. So for example, if you do want to buy something new for your wardrobe, then make sure it mixes and matches with the clothes you already have. I think if you set constraints around your upgrades, then you stop feeling the pressure to keep buying more all the time. And when you do upgrade, it's going to be a more strategic and intentional purchase. I think it really helps you build some defenses against what other people and what algorithms are pressuring you to buy. And you can feel more content and confident in what you already have. Plus, you just end up keeping a whole lot more money in your pocket. Reason number 4 is that staying quiet just keeps it simple. When you're not constantly upgrading, chasing trends, trying to keep up with the Kardashians or the Joneses or whoever it is on Instagram, you're naturally uninviting more clutter into your life. Because at the end of the day, things like clutter end up costing you more than just your money. It eats up time, energy, maintenance. Keeping things simple is always easier and cheaper. And the great thing about quitting the upgrade rat race is that once you stop letting your lifestyle creep up on you like that, then you can start using your money as a tool to design the life that you want to live, instead of always just using it as a way to measure yourself against other people, and now strangers online. Because don't forget that money can be used to buy things other than stuff. You can use it to shape your day, you can use it to reduce your stress, and you can use it to create options for yourself. Like when I first started making more money, yeah, I bought nice things, and nice things are nice, but I realized quickly that I could also use that money to buy things like time. For example, editing one YouTube video can easily take me up to 40 hours, but if I was able to hire an editor, that would offload a ton of time for me to either spend more time making more videos, which would in turn make me more money, or just allow me to spend more time with friends and family or doing other hobbies that I enjoy, like going to the gym. You can also use your money as a tool to secure your future. If you do choose to save and invest your money, then you're buying security for your future self. I like to look at it this way. One way of spending costs you your time, while the other buys it back. The next reason you might want to avoid things like lifestyle inflation and flaunting your wealth is because after a while, it kind of stops working. Because I think we're all naturally wired to think that once we achieve a certain milestone or vision of success, then we'll be happy. Whether it's things like finally getting that promotion, paying off debt, or even finally getting visible abs. But once you finally get there and reach your goal, it kind of feels surprisingly empty. And that's because research shows that even our biggest successes quickly become our new baseline. So this tendency to basically return to your level of baseline and normal is called the hedonic treadmill. So when it comes to spending all your money on stuff and lifestyle, you're basically spending to nowhere. Everything you do buy, yes, makes you happy for like a split second, for a moment, but eventually that romance wears off and you'll find yourself needing to buy something again and again just to get that feeling. But before you say anything, I am not saying that money can't buy happiness, because yes, it absolutely can, and anyone who says otherwise is bullshitting you. Having even a little bit of financial security buys you safety, it buys you stability, it buys you time, opportunity, flexibility, healthcare, and yes, even fun. But I think the point here is the problem comes when you try to buy that happiness in the wrong places and in the wrong things. At the end of the day, all that junk you tried to buy to feel something used to be money. So when you stop buying things to flaunt and in the name of lifestyle, then I think that's when you can better use your money to actually buy the things that are going to make you truly happy and that are in alignment with your goals, the lifestyle you want, and your values. The lifestyle that you want authentically for you, not based on what it looks like to other people. The next reason I think you should stop trying to buy your status to show off to other people is you can use that money to build a FU fund. Yes, I love a good FU fund. At the end of the day, money buys you two things: freedom and flexibility. When I was getting honest about things like my debt and my overconsumption, the first thing I thought about was why I wanted to get out of debt. And if I was really honest with myself, it wasn't necessarily so I could go out and buy more things. I wanted to free up that money and start building my wealth so that I could live my life the way I wanted to. I wanted the freedom and flexibility to design my own day, or to be able to go part-time at work so that I could pursue other interests on a more full-time basis. Or even if I wanted to do something as simple as get a dog or move out of my apartment. All of those things cost money. And if all of your money is caught up in places like debt or spending it on things that you don't actually care about, then it really limits your ability to do the things you want to do and design the life that you want to live. And very slowly and surely over time, I was able to pay off my debt and also build up a savings and a safety net so that I could go part-time at work and I could take risks like pursuing YouTube and content creation on a more full-time basis. If you can zoom out and look at the bigger picture and really think about your why, you're going to be that much more motivated to save that money so that you can spend your life and your time exactly the way you want to. But the other thing that this money can buy you is safety and security. I think everybody needs an FU fund because yes, you can use it to take risks, but you can also use it to take yourself out of a situation you no longer want to be in, whether it be a toxic job or even a toxic relationship. There's a saying in personal finance, if it can go wrong, it will. So you need to be ready for that. And let me tell you, when I was in the depths of my girl math, treat yourself era, I remember vividly going out to the mall because that's how I spent my time and my income at the time. Forget about saving. But I dropped $500 going shopping that day. And then I scratched my car like severely. And I was in a total panic because I had no idea how I was going to pay to fix it. But on the flip side to that, I had no problem dropping $500 of money that I didn't really have on clothes that I also didn't need to impress people that I didn't know and or didn't really like. And I know that scenario is minor when it comes to something like a layoff or an emergency situation. But at the end of the day, if you have money set aside for big emergencies and even minor inconveniences, it really does buy you peace of mind. Because on top of all the other stress you're already going through, you don't want to add money to the worry pile on top of that. This next reason I think that we can all take to heart a little bit more, and it's when you feel like you have enough, you stop wanting more all the time. You're simply just grateful and content with what you have. You know, and I truly believe that I think the richest and most content and calmest people are the ones who are grateful for what they already have, regardless of income. And it doesn't mean that these people don't have or own nice things, but it fully doesn't consume their thoughts, their time, or their wealth. And when you're truly content with what you have and you kind of stop wanting for more all the time, I think that's when you can divert your money to spend it on other things that you truly value, like experiences, like spending time with friends and family, like building your dream life. I think there's a great quote that sort of sums this up from the author of The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel. He says that wealth is not always what you want, it's what you have. And I think it's a great reminder, especially when you're feeling spendy for kind of the wrong reasons. And this one I think flies under the radar a little bit, but once you start doing it, I feel like there is no other way to spend money. But when you stop spending your money with other people in mind is when you can start spending it in actual alignment with your values. This is where it becomes a lot easier to spend on things like hobbies and things you enjoy guilt-free. And I think it's also how you just live within or even below your means without feeling dissatisfied from it. And when you do choose to spend money, when it's in alignment with your values, that's when I feel like you also become a lot more confident in that spending and you start to experience buyer's remorse a lot less frequently. And yes, this way of spending is a great way to spend on yourself, but it can also free up money so that you can support causes and donate to things that you believe in. When all of your spending is tied to feeling pressure from external forces to look or be a certain way, it becomes really difficult to spend in alignment with your own values. And I feel like that's when none of that spending actually feels good. At the end of the day, when you're saying yes to a certain type of spending, you're saying no to something else. And I think truly when you focus less on what other people are going to think or how you look to others, then you can really start to focus more on what you actually care about and how you're going to use your money as a tool to design the authentic life that you want to live. I think so many people use YOLO, you only live once, as an excuse to spend that money. And yeah, definitely YOLO, but don't you want to use that money as a tool to build your authentic dream life? Maybe not necessarily somebody else's. So those are 10 reasons why when you start saving serious money and building real wealth, you might not want to let others know about it, especially in the way that you look. But if you're just getting started in building the money habits to actually get to this place, then you're gonna have to start with a budget. So watch this video next where I show you exactly how to budget from start to finish so you can start taking control of your money instead of wondering where it all went. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.